Community Viewpoint.
And welcome to another edition of Community Viewpoint. I'm John Pawlak, your host for this segment, and I would like to welcome Edie Lohmann, who is the National Flood Insurance Specialist for Region 9, I believe you said it was. We're going to be having a renewing of our maps, our floodplain maps for, you call it Basin 162 also, for what we have here?
Right, so it's the Mountain Falls area that they are studying.
Oh, is it? Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't get to that part. Okay. But everyone pretty much in the Pahrump area is subject to floodplain insurance. Myself, we spoke about this before the show, that I'm in area AO, I believe it is, which means I'm in a light area that doesn't necessarily flood all the time.
Right, so in AO zone, it is a floodplain, so it's considered a special flood hazard area. And usually the depths of flooding in those areas are 1 foot, 2 foot, or 3 feet.
Oh.
So we do have other special flood hazard areas where the level of flooding is greater.
Mm-hmm. So basically the valley is in a flood zone, most of it.
Parts of Pahrump are definitely in high-risk flood zones.
The habitable part, unfortunately.
Yes. So we want people to be aware of that flood risk, even though it's a desert. It looks like a desert. It's dry. Mm-hmm. In a lot of the, for most of the year. We do have those risks, and some of that comes from those alluvial fan areas from the mountains. So we want people to be aware of that.
A lot of times people don't understand it. If you're on the west side of the valley, you don't see rain. But if you're on the east side off the alluvial fan, there's I've seen storms, low-level storms that have just flooded our State Road 160. And businesses are washed out for the time being. The road is full of gravel and rock and things like that. But yes, we can have floods in a flood zone. So the people who have businesses, hopefully they had flood insurance, and that would help them recoup some of the losses then. Right,
absolutely correct. So flooding is one of the best ways that property owners, business owners, and renters can protect themselves against a risk of flooding. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't realize that a standard homeowner's policy, business policy, or renter's policy doesn't cover the peril of flooding. Right. So a lot of people aren't aware of that. And unfortunately, that becomes a problem when they get flooded. And perhaps they didn't expect to see any flooding because the area is dry most of the time. And I think a few other things that are important to note is that flooding kills the most people, and it causes the most property damage across the United States. 90% of the flooding events are not federally declared, which means that presents some challenges for those people that do get flooded, where there is not a federal declaration as far as recovery. Mm-hmm. How do they recover? So it's very important for people to know what their risk is, know their role, and to take action. And purchasing flood insurance is one of the best ways to mitigate a loss for flooding.
So when I first came out here, I decided to build a home, get a mortgage. One of the things that is included in that automatically is the flood insurance. And it's almost, it's almost painless because it's part of the process.
Right, that's correct. So under the federal law, a federally backed lender, federal agency or regulator that is making, increasing, renewing, or extending any type of loan in a what we call a high-risk area, or what's noted as a special flood hazard area on FEMA's flood insurance rate maps, is required under the federal law to have the borrower purchase flood insurance and keep that flood insurance current for the life of the loan.
Now, when I pay flood insurance, where's the money? Where does the money go? To my insurance agent, or the mortgage company, or the federal government?
Well, that's a good point, John. So the flood insurance premiums go to the National Flood Insurance Fund, which pays to support the program. The National Flood Insurance Program, although it has borrowing authority from the U.S. Treasury for catastrophic losses, and now we have a reinsurance program as well that started in January of this year. When Congress set the National Flood Insurance Program up, it was intended to be a self-funded program. So that means that all the policy premiums that are collected pay for the support of running the entire program countrywide.
Okay, understood. So, what is there a specific value for the, like I'm an AO, is there a price that you can pull out of the sky for that?
So
because I know how much I pay.
Right, exactly. So the cost of flood insurance is dependent upon a number of factors. And those factors include the type of flood zone that you're in. So the riskier the flood zone, the more expensive the insurance could be. We also look at the age of structures, because typically older structures were not built with the information that we have about the floodplain currently. So newer structures are required to, in floodplains, are required to be built according to the latest and greatest information that we have on the FEMA flood insurance rate maps. The amount of coverage that folks purchase and the amount of their deductible will all impact the premium for flood insurance, as well as if they have a basement, what type of foundation do we have for the building? Is it residential? Is it commercial? So we have a number of factors that play into the cost for flood insurance. And the place to go for folks interested in purchasing flood insurance, or that have a requirement from their lender to purchase flood insurance, is for them to go to their local insurance agent.
Right. So, and I went on your site, not your site, but the FEMA has a site to find all the information out. And I was frantically going through that this morning, and I says, yeah, it gets comfortable the more you do it, I'm sure. And I found a map that we looked at over here, so I went to the right place. And it said basically my area was last surveyed in 2015, but you're in the process of resurveying the whole place?
So Nye County has asked FEMA to assist with a new flood insurance study for a specific area.
Which is Mountain Falls?
It's in the Mountain Falls area. It's the Fans Peak spring that is being studied. I believe I can get you the exact area later on.
Man Spring area up there? I know where you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So it's that area that they are studying. They've done a few studies in Nye County previously.
And there's going to be more building too. Maybe that's why they requested that to see, because they're going to be building a lot more homes here too.
That's true, and that impacts the flow of the water, of course, yes. Significantly. So in a lot of cases, communities will ask for assistance from FEMA to restudy areas to make sure that the FEMA flood insurance rate maps show the most accurate levels of risk. Because we are using those maps to inform the public about their risks, so they're very important. Lenders are using those maps to make determinations where there are high-risk areas, and flood insurance is mandatory under the federal law. So it is important to keep those maps up to date and modern.
Because I know we've had one in the past at our local library, and that's the one we go by as the latest one that's out there until the study is done, then I'm assuming. So I believe Susan still has it up at our local library, so you could check that floodplain map out. Or unfortunately, we're taping now. You're going to have a public meeting before this airs, but you're here to explain things to insurance agents, realtors, county officials, and then you're going to have a public meeting also?
Correct. So as part of the mapping process, which is regulatory, we work closely with the local communities, Nye County in this case, to make sure that the public is informed, they have an opportunity to look at the study and to provide input and comments into the study area. And so we're here for the next, FEMA's here for the next few days, and we'll be talking with our stakeholders like the local insurance agents and the realtors, the local community officials, to let them know about the study that's underway and the approximate timeline, and to inform them in general about the National Flood Insurance Program. We'll also have a public meeting tomorrow night where property owners in Nye County are invited to attend and get information specific to this particular study that's ongoing right now.
Okay, well, we thank you for coming, and we're out of time. And we can go on and on with this, but thank you very much, Edie. Thank you, Noah. Thank you.
Community Viewpoint.